We open with Dargo explaining to Crichton about Troutix, a mechanic who's come aboard to make Moya undetectable, but Crichton is skeptical. So many people who have offered to help have screwed them that he just knows this is going to end in predictable disaster. To make matters even worse, Chiana has replenished their food stocks, except all she bought was crackers, enough to fill those huge cases that roadies haul around. And Aaron has learned that Scorpius dropped a whole bunch of pods on this planet, announcing that Crichton is worth a big old bounty. So, they got that to look forward to now. The coup de grace is that Troutix is going to demonstrate his voodoo using Crichton's module, aka the only thing that can get him home. It could only get worse if this thing was powered by punching Crichton in the dick. Still, the device works. The module becomes invisible for 10 seconds. Any more than that, and this small demonstration device will overheat and kablooey all over the place.
I don't like it either, but he did it. My module disappeared. I disappeared.
How is your module?
Checked out fine. I checked out fine.
While vaguely concerned about you, I'm much more interested in how this will affect Moya.
Now, that's a bit odd. Pilot usually acts, at least in these days before they probably got on his last nerve, as if he's there to be of service. Snarking Crichton's health, that's a bit unusual for him. But Crichton insists that although he doesn't trust Troutix, he's a tiny blind man. They shouldn't have any trouble locking him up if he pulls shit on them. And they're going to check out the destination before they arrive to make certain it's safe. Nothing can possibly go wrong, which means everything will impossibly go wrong. Now, they have to pass 5 pulsars along the way, which Troutix warns has been known to affect lesser species, but they should be fine. Which is a very nice way of getting everybody to ignore the effect that it might have on them, because that would be like denying you sent a dick pic by declaring you're too small and impotent to be the man in that picture. No, they call me Flaccid McTiny. Yet Chiana and Crichton are already starting to bitch at each other over the crackers, and Crichton slips that info to Rigel, who is aghast that Chiana might eat all the food before he gets a chance to eat all the food. It's not just them. Zahn is suspicious of Aaron messing with one of the pods. Aaron wants to see if it can point them away from Scorpius, or if there might be some hidden data in there. But Zahn doesn't trust that she would tell them if there was some kind of secret message in there. It might be something about her turning them all over in return for a pardon or something. But Aaron doesn't care whether Zahn trusts her or not. And Dargo is mixing it up with Rigel because he thinks the little guy is swiping food too.
You wanted crackers? Oh, we've got plenty! You see? Now eat!
Bet you can't eat just one. This scene actually had to be heavily edited because it came off far more violent than was intended, which, given what you'll see later, tells you something. By now it's obvious that something's up with all of them. Essentially, this is stripping them of their positive traits and amplifying the negative ones. Pilot, the put-upon servant, snarks the crew. Chiana, fugitive, now only looks out for number 1. Dargo, betrayed by his brother-in-law, watching out for betrayal. You get the picture. And what's more, everyone is getting filled with paranoia. Things get worse as Zahn decides to lie in the pulsar light. It tickles her plant ovaries when she does that, so she's not going to be much help to anybody. Crichton figures he better check in with Pilot to see if he's noticed anything. Right after Pilot told Troutix he doesn't particularly like the rest of the crew. So when Crichton is his usual nickname-giving self, Pilot is annoyed and becomes irritable when Crichton wants him to scan the pulsars for anything that could be having this effect. Some kind of bad mojo radiation or something. One thing Zahn did before sprawling in the sunlight was tell Chiana that Aaron has a secret message on that beacon that she was hiding from the rest of them. So Chiana demands to see it. So Crichton shows up and tells Aaron to play everything on the beacon just to shut the albino up. But now Chiana thinks that there's something dangerous in watching the message. When Dargo walks in on that, the tension goes up still further until Dargo smacks some sense into Crichton. Not his intention, of course, but Crichton seems to realize now that they're acting funny, as is the cameraman, adding to the delusional nature of the scene. They're trying to get it together, but reality is just in the mood to be silly today. Although even for silly today, that's kinda unexpected. So Troutix is part Daredevil, part Spider-Man, and part Cyclops. That'll be a difficult menace to deal with. But at the moment, he's playing dumb when Crichton confronts him over this. Crichton's pride has been slapped around often enough that he's not going to pretend that he and everyone else aren't screwed up. That would be crazy, even by the current crazy standards. Troutix plays dumb. By my word, I've never heard of such a thing. Troutix suggests that maybe it's his blindness, that's why he's not being affected like everyone else is, and he suggests turning back. Of course, Crichton points out that wouldn't make any sense. They're already past the halfway point, so they might as well keep flying through Crazy Town and hope they come out the other side intact. Although with Aaron around, that seems less and less likely. She's tracking down Rigel because after what's happened now, she's paranoid, and even though Rigel is the least trustworthy, she knows he's a coward who wouldn't risk her wrath by betraying her. So, it's Aaron and Rigel versus the rest of them, defending their share of the crackers against those who would take it. Those who are also plotting against them and Crichton. And Crichton doesn't know how to stop them from killing each other. Can this get any worse?
I'm only judging on my experience with you, but I've never seen such a deficient species.
Have you run the scan on the Pulsar light yet?
How do humans make it through a cycle, even half a cycle, without killing each other?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
We find it difficult to have you run the scan.
You have no special abilities. You're not particularly smart, can hardly smell, can barely see, and you're not even vaguely physically or spiritually imposing.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Is there anything you do well?
Don't hold back. Tell us what you really think.
Have you run the scan?
Nobody trusts you, Crichton. Do you know that? Sometimes they pity you.
If Crace had really wanted vengeance on Crichton, he still wouldn't have left him on Moya. I despise him with every fiber of my being, but I wouldn't wish this on anyone. Shockingly, even though Crichton has figured out that the light can't be doing this since it's affecting Pilot, between the abuse heaped on him and the ranting of Aaron and Rigel about crackers, he finally loses it now and begins babbling like a madman about ice cream. Though in the midst of this madness, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. But while Pilot thinks everyone else is a waste of flesh, Crichton's just especially a waste, he's more than happy to cooperate with Troutix, who reveals that he does, in fact, have eyes. It's just too dark for them. He needs more light. And if Pilot would help him take care of that problem, he'll take care of the problem of the Moya crew getting underfoot all the time. Which admittedly is often what they do. I mean, they offer to help out, and next thing you know, the Leviathan is frickin' pregnant with a psychologically imbalanced warship. Yeah, that's not helping. But as messed up as he is, Crichton is at least lucid enough to know that these people are going to kill each other, and possibly themselves, sooner or later. So he takes the control board out of his module, locks the hangar doors so nobody can fly out, and suggests to Aaron that they lock away all the guns so that no one can shoot each other.
Next time you'll be a crouton, Crichton.
I've been working on that one all night. Next up is a visit with Chiana. Wow, when I said the thing was powered by punching Crichton in the dick, it was a joke, not a suggestion. That was a mistake, because Crichton is so over the edge that he begins literally hallucinating. The hologram of Scorpius stops broadcasting the bounty offer and comes down to tell him the others are really crazy. And hey, if you can't trust a manifestation of your own psychosis, who can you trust? He says it's because they're hoarding all the crackers, which, now that I think of it, I wonder if it's those food additives in the crackers that are doing all this. You know, like when they put fluoride in your drinking water to monitor your thoughts? Now, at the time, this was supposed to be just a one-off thing, but it was quickly realized that Head Scorpius was a great way to keep the villain in the show without having him constantly show up and get thwarted. So that's where Harvey comes in. This isn't Harvey, though, but it wouldn't be surprising if this hallucination happened because of a subconscious awareness that Harvey was in there. But we can tell that this isn't him right here, because Head Scorpius wouldn't act this way. Indeed, it might be that the thoughts being forced from Crichton's own mind by force of will are what are constituting this Scorpius. They're things that he can't allow himself to think, so they manifest themselves through Scorpius' mouth. Case in point, Scorpius is encouraging Crichton to kill Dargo for no reason, but Crichton's not going to do that.
Well, have a little pain.
Wound him for no reason, now Crichton's down with that. Crackers Don't Matter drew some of its inspiration from Kubrick's The Shining, and that's why it's going to a very dark place. But Crichton's only just started. The director looked at this work and said, you know, this just isn't fucked up enough. Let's shoot some more footage. That's not an exaggeration, by the way. They set out to make Crichton as offensive as they felt they could get away with here. So as you can see, Crichton is scaring the living crap out of Chiana. Now, okay, she did give him an unprovoked slam to the cracker barrels earlier, and that upsets a guy. But hey, there's proportionality too. If someone dents your car, you don't burn their house down. You pee through their mail slot. That's rational behavior. Instead of shooting her, Scorpio suggests tying her up for dessert. An idea that Crichton goes along with for the moment. Really wish he would have settled for ice cream. How you're going to take this on board will be up to each person. You can make cases, but you know what? I have 14 weeks to review 4 video games and create a forum, so I'm going to skip another round of being a rage pinata and just say Crichton was doing something very bad, okay? Very, very bad. Let's fucking move on. Let's get to something less disturbing, like Crichton's romantic relationship with Erin that involves the two of them pointing guns at each other while hurling vicious insults at one another. But you know what? Hey, at least they're talking it out. That's healthy. You know what isn't? That is not healthy. Crichton finally gets his shit together and has everyone tied up so they can't run away during his speech. Well, it's half speech, half Gallagher routine.
But Dargo, I need you to understand that crackers don't matter.
The point, though, is that they're past the Pulsars and they're all still acting nuts. Well, of course, all of them but Troutix.
I am magnificent!
Relatively speaking. Well, now we know he's the cause. We need to deal with the problem. And Crichton's got a plan. We kill him to death. I do love their straightforwardness, though. There's no wrestling with consciences and considering the finer points. The only debate on the kill him plan is who will get the pleasure of doing the job. Chiana cuts through it all and says that it has to be Crichton. Only Crichton can save us. You all have to accept that Crichton will be our hero. Because he's a genetic throwback. Basically all the crap that Pilot was spewing earlier. That's why Crichton is less affected than the rest of them. Still, if it'll save the day, he'll take one final indignity.
Heat deflecting paste. You'll burn up in there without it.
Smells like puke.
I pre-digested it to increase its potency.
It's puke!
Followed by another. That's just life on Moya. There's no final indignity, just the latest indignity. Still, with that heat-resistant paste and a coating on a hat, a solar cloak to wrap himself, goggles so that he doesn't go blind, and a piece of Prowler armor as a shield, plus Dargo's sword, Crichton is ready to kick some ass. Well, he's not ready for a comic book cover, but all he has to do is defeat a tiny laser-shooting bat dude, and it might seem impossible, but remember, kids, that impossible is an anagram of Pissmobile, and if Crichton had a crime-fighting vehicle, that's what it'd be called. Therefore, Crichton can't lose. I mean, that's just logic. Troutix actually saves Crichton's life because Rigel decides to make up for lost doing evil time by not shutting down the cloaking device after the count of 10. You know, that whole thing where he's going to blow up? Troutix unwittingly saves Crichton's life when he shoots the cable to now fully reveal him.
You can't stop me, Crichton! I have the light! The humans are superior!
That's a good, if kind of racist-sounding battle cry. Crichton defeats him, but Troutix gives a villain's speech first about his people rising up and wiping them all out, and yada yada yada. Look, you're dead meat, pal. Crackers Don't Matter gets a stamp of strongly recommended. It's equal parts mind-screw and comedy and excels at both. It was written by Justin Monjo, who gave us similar tales from Season 1, A Human Reaction and The Hidden Memory, the latter of which was directed by Ian Watson, who brought his magic to this episode, and would later direct the hilarious Out of Their Minds, which we've also covered. Crackers came in at a good point in the series, when the crew had really begun to trust one another and evolve, especially in the wake of the events surrounding the Peacekeeper base and the birth of Talon. Now this happens and everything is shaken up. Those relationships have been fractured, as indicated when Crichton quietly mutters Humpty Dumpty to himself. This can't truly be undone. While there were apologies in the aftermath, some weren't accepted right now. Like Rigel nearly being killed by Dargo, he makes it clear that he's going to need some time. Even though this brought out the worst in them, it was in them nevertheless, and opinions of each other have been slightly damaged because of that. Especially relevant because the next episode was The Way We Weren't, which was that recording of Erin which was tied into Pilot's past, which caused so much friction. Not just because of those two, but between the former prisoners and Erin. Everything was all messed up because there was some baggage here in the wake of this disaster. You can understand why they would all lash out at each other.